Hey folks, Barry here. How you doing? Now, recently I had an opportunity to playtest a game for a pretty well-established game company, Platt Dad Games, and I just wanted to talk to you about my experience with that. Now, this is the only game that I have ever playtested for a company or anything else for that matter. And like I said, I figured I'd just sit down and tell you a little bit about my experience with the game so far. Okay. Now, I won't get into the particulars of the game because I signed an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. So I can't get into specifics of the game, and I wouldn't want to anyway. Basically, what happened is I wanted to see how a game came about from when the designer thought it was ready to be playtested by other people, which they call blind playtesting. You know, other people that are not in their company or their, direct community there. And I went to see what the process is from that to a finished product. Now, this game isn't finished and it probably won't be out for, months and months. But that's why I went about doing this. I'm interested in the process. So, there's different ways you can playtest games. You could do it at your local gaming group or one of your local gamers who wants to make a game and has a prototype for you to do there. There's many resources online. One of them is Unpub. Like I said, went to Platt Dad's website, which I frequent a lot, and on their website they had a page saying they need playtesters. Click this link to sign up for it. Now, there's a couple different games that I could have playtested for, and I decided to go with this one because one of them was an expansion to a game they previously had out, and it was a big time commitment. Each time you play that game, it's a big time commitment. And the other one was an expansion to another game that I don't own. So I went with this third option, and it was an interesting experience. It's still ongoing. So, like I said, I went on the site. The designer sent me an email with a link to print up everything I would need for the game. Okay, now, this was a print and play basically. He sent me files of what the game was and instructions on how to play the game. Okay, so, like I said, I've only done this with Platt Dad. I don't know how other companies do it, but with Platt Dad, they give you kind of an incentive. If you play test the game so many times, they'll give you, something in return. I don't know if every company does that. That's how Platt Dad does it. And Platt Dad will put your name in the rule book as a playtester after, I think it was 2 playtests. But anyway, they sent me the file. I printed it all out. What I will say about the game is it's a card game with dice. Alright, and the dice had they were customizable dice, so you had to cut and paste these symbols on a blank die. Alright, many blank dies. So I got everything printed out and ready to play. And then in the meantime, Platt Dad has a forum that the playtesters log into, and they can discuss things about the game. Whether, if they found errors in the wording on some cards, or how they feel about the game, if they thought one thing was overpowered or underpowered, and then, basic general conversation outside of the game. And then the designer asked specific questions, later on throughout the playtesting. So we got these cards together. Me and Jen sat down and we played the game. Now, I expected the rules to be a little rough, and they were, but they were understandable. Some things were a little unclear. Again, I went on the forums, and if these things weren't brought up by other playtesters and answered by the lead playtester, they were answered by the designer at some point, within a reasonable amount of time. Now, I also expected the rules to change. Not at the frequency they did, but I did expect them to change. And a lot of it in the beginning was, wording of particular cards or stuff like that. And then there were some minor rule changes, and then later on there were some major rule changes. And we did this for about a month, from I think it was the beginning of April to about the first week of May. Could have been the end of February, the first week of May. I don't remember exactly. And in that, there was, like I said, there was a good bit of rule changes. So if you're going to playtest, you had to be prepared for that. In this particular case, it meant that I would have to reprint some cards every once in a while. Or sometimes I could just write in the changes if it was a minor change for wording or stuff like that. Now, I can see how people would get burnt out playing the same thing over and over again. And Platt Dad was pretty cool about this. They said, if this happens, we understand it happens. Some people aren't meant to play test. Some people, don't have the time. Life gets in the way, stuff like that. They understand. They said thank you. Thanks for your cooperation. And then they said, if you want to continue to play test in the next group, that's fine too. So Platt Dad's pretty cool with that. I actually had a pretty good time with it. I found it fun and I found it interesting. Just be prepared to play the game repeatedly over and over again, and then learn to adapt to the new rules. One thing I want to work on right now, the game is on hiatus while the designer thinks about a few things about the game, and then we're going to resume in a little bit. But one thing I want to focus on when we go back from the hiatus is what the designer wants specifically. I think I want to email him, and I'm going to ask him specifically what is he looking for from his playtesters. Now, as I said, this forum did answer a lot of questions, and it brought up a lot of points, about the game. And I know the designer is going to take these suggestions into consideration. I don't expect them to change the game over, every little thing that somebody says, but I have seen that he has taken some of the suggestions or, different points of concern into, he did think about it and tweak, as he thought was necessary. Another thing I wasn't expecting was the whole print the prototype. For some reason, I thought they would probably have it and then, ship it out to you. But that may not be the case in all of them, as it wasn't in this one. This one I had to cut out the different cards and stuff like that. So, as these rules changed, I tried to be pretty open with it. Meaning, I tried to read the rules over again every time something changed. Not just what changed, but the entire rule set again. I would, download and print the whole rule set again every time these effects took place. Because I was trying not to make assumptions on how I thought the game should work, because I found in the beginning that kind of got in my way, especially after like the first or second change. You know, I was still doing things the old way because I was assuming. You know, I found the same thing with the actual text. Anytime there was a mistake in the text, or you know, it's just worded what I thought was weird, I would take an assumption on what I thought it would mean. You know, and sometimes it meant something totally different than what I would expect it to, you know, or what I thought it would. So I tried to be very open with that, you know, and then, like I said, if there was something I was stuck on, I'd go back into the forum and read what the forum said, you know. So that's another thing I think people should take into consideration if they decide to play test a game. You know, try and be open and not take assumptions. Now, like I said, the game, the playtesting group is on hiatus right now, and I just got an email from them earlier this week, I think it was, and it'll start up again at the end of the month, and then it'll go on for another 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever. So I'm looking forward to getting back into it. Now they say if you want to go on for, you know, an extended period, you know, they'd be more than happy to have you. That is something I have to consider. You know, I have to think about it. I got to talk to Jen about it. I don't know if she enjoys this like I do. You know, we haven't really sat down and talked about it, and I don't know if Jen would play test another game. You know, I seen Jen get frustrated sometimes in the game. You know, sometimes it's with the changes of the rules. Sometimes it was with the game itself. You know, I probably will end up buying it, but I don't know. Like I said, I have to sit down and think about it, talk to Jen. So that's another thing to take into consideration. You know, you may not like the game. Like I said, I think it's a good game, but you know, it may not fit into your group. So as you're play testing it, you know, that may be another reason you may not continue to play test it. It just may not be a game for you. It's like any other game. You never know until you play it. Yeah. Now with the game itself, I see it having the potential to be a really good game, especially with the changes they're making with the game, and how they're trying to adjust the game for a specific group that they're trying to target. Now, I know you can't please everybody with board games or card games especially, but they are making a very valiant effort at trying to make a product that people will enjoy. Okay. And I think this is a game that they're going to try and, you know, make expansions for. Naturally, they're a business, they want to make money off of it, but I think they're excited about this world that this game was made in. So that's pretty much it. Just wanted to discuss a little bit on my experience with the playtesting. Now, like I said, there's many resources available online if you want to get into this. I went directly to the publisher's website. As I mentioned, there's Unpub, which does nothing but prototype games. There's Board Game Geek. You know, that's a great resource. Your local gaming store. You know, some guy or a woman is out there making a game. You know, wants people to help them out there. So, if this is something you think you're interested in, I advise you to, you know, do a little more research on it, check it out. So that's pretty much it. Any comments or questions, leave them in the thingy underneath. I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. Try and answer you as best of my ability. Get gaming, have fun, and I'll see you next time.